And guess you can really breathe in San Jose. They've got a lot of space. There'll be a place where I can stay. I was born and raised in San Jose. I'm going back to find some piece of mind in San Jose. Feeling for Johnny is a magnet.
We're going to listen to the whole song. If we don't know.
It's Dionne Warwick right here. Recent Kennedy Center honoree. And just like that, somehow you disappeared. Here she is.
Just like that.
Just like that. Good morning. What is it's that internet's
happening?
It's the interwebs in Waco.
Listen,
it's the interwebs in Waco. Can you write your congressperson, please?
I'll do it. Hello, everyone, to our millions of fans. I just got home from San Jose.
Hence the song, everyone. See how we did that? Tied it together. We're so good.
But we had to let them in on the story because...
Ooh, that's very festive as well.
This is the Austin Football Club. Oh, look, see? Greta's from San Jose.
Greta? Then we next time we should do like a poll in advance because Greta, I'm sure, has all of those words memorized. I mean, how could you be from
and bring Greta on to lip sync because I have to tell you, San Jose is just beautiful.
So wait, you posted that one picture that I don't know what that building was, but it was really cool looking.
That's where we were staying. It was at the Hayes Mansion.
Oh my gosh.
They've taken this mansion and turned it into like a resort where you can stay. And it was lovely because you could like sit in the library and they had decorations up and
that's awesome.
They have the history of the Hayes family and how they got the mansion and when they opened and everything. And it was so funny. My executive producer was with me and he finds a pearl like stuck in the cracks and he was like, look, it's the original Hayes pearl.
Was it real? Did you go get it appraised?
No.
You know, I'd be down to the appraisers. I'll be right back. Head right down to the closest jewelry store.
I bet you this is the Hayes. And the only disappointment was we asked for a watermelon margarita because December, and they were like, watermelon's not in season, and just looked at us like we were like, and we're like, no, in Waco, it's always in season. No. I don't know where it comes from. It's made in a lab. Season?
It's manufactured watermelon.
No, not ground watermelon.
Right.
Lab watermelon.
Lab watermelon, much better.
Yes.
The shelf life is incredible.
Absolutely.
And you were there for work. Yes, let's let everybody know.
Well, I mean, I was there. I took on vacation. I went and did a little doodad with some people, but I was technically off.
I like to. Okay. Well, sometimes when people watch things on social media, they think, this may be shocking. I know it may be shocking. Sometimes people see things on social media and sort of fill in the blanks with a story that they'd like to be true. Like, here's Jackye again on vacation. That girl never works. She don't, because there are haters that are doing that. They
are haters. They're like, oh, I wish I could travel. And I'm like, the thing that always the big thing was my report came out this week. The DEIB report, and I was like, I should probably.
I know. I saw.
What did you think? It was good. It was
lovely.
It was lovely.
It was lovely. If you all don't know, by the way, so I don't know, Jamie, if you're, Jamie's on an airplane.
What?
We can put it into the chat. Make sure
our real producer.
He is really so on the Humoriso side. We've got some peeps flying to Florida right now, and we're going to hang and do some strategic planning tomorrow. So there are about 6 or 7 folks on their way, one of whom is Jamie. Robin's on her way. Y'all, if you follow Robin on social media, woo, she was up early. But that photo at the airport with the sunrise was so beautiful. It was so
Beautiful. But it
sky,
kind of makes you want to go back to bed. It kind
kind of.
of is a reminder that
I'd
you were
already been up
too early.
for 2 hours when I saw her post. So, y'all
Listen,
know. Oh, in case people don't know, yes. So 4:15, I get out of bed and throw shorts and a t-shirt on and go work out because that's what I do.
and I don't. I roll out of bed.
And I'm
I
in my car
roll
driving
into
going,
my
do
office.
you know the way to San Jose?
I'm not. I'm yelling at all the people. Do not wake me up. Do not. I was up last night putting this up. I was like, you know what? My partners, they hate me. The Golden Girls hate me. If it wasn't for Robin,
Hate you. Robin, with our couple days together, Robin's like, I don't want to know all these details. I'm going to show up and someone just take me by the hand and take me everywhere I have to go. I'm like, yep, sold. Totally get it. No problem.
Yeah, that's me. That's usually me. I don't want to know. Just tell
At
me when to
conferences,
be
I
there.
have to be that way. I can't deal with it anymore. It's like, what? They're like, well, what did you pick? I don't know. Where are you
I
going?
don't.
I
Yeah,
can't.
I'm
I
just gonna go
can't.
to the opposite of you. Or do we want to go together this time? Like, it's a lot. But I'm glad that you said that. Because we really need to start thinking about, y'all, where are we going next year? What conferences are we going to hit next year? I really
Well,
need a big conference. I'm trying to figure
wait,
out
have
a
you
big
been
conference
picked
with
to
big
speak
stuff.
somewhere? I think that's the first thing to start talking about. Where will you be speaking?
Well, right now, my plan is to step back to focus on my book. I'm writing a book.
Me too. Gosh, we got to do a double book
We
launch.
should go to Key West and write it, so we could
Yes.
channel Hemingway and
Oh my
get
gosh.
all of the
Hemingway is my favorite. I mean, I
little
would.
key lime pie. We could do a little scuba diving.
Oh my gosh. So I went snorkeling one time and I don't like this kind of stuff, just so
Me
everybody knows.
neither. I
I'm
am
not,
not
I'm
that
not,
at
I'm not wired.
all. Disgusting.
All Philadelphia comes right out to me. I'm like,
Right.
what am I doing in this water like this? This
Right.
is unnatural, right? I
That's right.
can't
Yeah,
do it.
someone peed in it.
Yeah, I am so Kathy and I, this was like more than 3 years ago. We are in the ocean at Turks and Caicos, which is a whole other story, and snorkeling. Halfway around this like reef that we are exploring, one of my flippers falls off my foot and sinks way down.
Did you
And
panic?
I was like, well, this is going to suck. And because if you all know me, my first thought was, holy crap, what are they going to charge me to replace this
Right.
flipper?
Right.
I'm like half drowning, but I'm like, what are they going to put on my credit card? And and Kathy then got out of sync. I got out of sync. I mean, I thought I was going to die. The shoreline probably wasn't that far away. It could have been 17 miles. I
You
was
probably
like,
could have stood up in the water.
I probably
You
could have.
probably-
We got back there and I was like sitting on the beach. I mean, everybody else at the resort was probably like, ooh, look at this guy.
No, literally, like John and I like to go to the beach for the cocktails. I'm not going. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing
No.
it. And I'm not that bright because I have like an American public school education. And so I'm like, what's that? And someone's like, a starfish. And I'm like, ah.
Like stick your head under and get real close to the. How am I sticking my head under? This snorkel thing is going to come underneath the water, and then I'm choking in all this water.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna suck the water in.
You think I'm stupid?
Aspirate.
I don't care about that reef. I can go to Bed Bath & Beyond. They got those things on display. I can go down.
And that's why we're besties.
Me and you.
Like, what's for dinner? Where should we go for dinner?
Our executive producers can go and be adventurous. We're like, we'll meet you at dinner.
That's right.
Come back with our bags.
The snorkel fell off. And he's like, it's just not worth it to our executive
and
producers.
Kathy's like sitting on the beach with me, rubbing my back. You actually didn't almost die. You didn't almost die. I know you think you did, but you didn't almost die.
No, I fully died. I fully died. Actually, fun fact that people may not know is that I did several endurance events. One of those was a triathlon, and I had to learn open water swim. And it was in the Potomac. Like, I couldn't mentally put all of those, I know, I couldn't put all those things together, but we had to practice in wetsuits in the ocean in Florida, where you're bobbing around because it's salt water, where you
Yeah.
wetsuit.
Yes.
But I did do that. I can write it off my bucket list.
No.
And
the Potomac. My gosh, the Potomac. It's as bad as the Schuylkill in Philly. Like,
the Schuylkill. Not cute.
Don't swim. Don't
I have
swim
to tell you, our topic is silly. Like, when are you due, Sue? But
it isn't silly. It's hilarious. I love the title, but it isn't silly because sometimes HR people, we are faux pas laden. I don't know if people have recognized.
Someone asked me last week. So I've lost some weight. And someone asked me last week, they said, you look great. And then they said, are you losing weight on purpose? And I was like,
no, I have a terminal disease. Like,
I was like,
thanks for asking.
What?
On purpose. No. Ever since I picked up, right? Like, ever since I picked up this stage 4 disease, I've been losing weight.
Why?
Like,
In what case would I be losing weight? Not on purpose, but it's positive.
I mean,
not one.
Well,
you know.
I want to make sure I say though, because I got, you and I have our things. I hope people can see us. And Greta, we're so glad you're here, but we're not seeing a whole lot of chatters. There's not a lot of chatters this morning.
I did get on a little bit slow. People are reacting, so I think people are seeing us, and maybe
I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure.
Like that. I'm gonna check as well because
I just wanted to make sure that we don't have people dying. To connect with us and they aren't seeing it for some reason. Okay. This topic though, coming back to it, it started with a friend of ours who shall remain nameless until I get bored of that. And who commented on the fact that she commented to someone asking about, thanks Amy, commented on the fact that asking, I guess, another person, when are you due? Because she looked pregnant. But the response was, I'm not pregnant, I'm just fat. And so, good old HR, in those moments when we do things like that, we think we're being proactive for FMLA because, we live for FMLA. I'm asking if you're pregnant because I want to make sure you know what's coming to you. No, I'm just fat, but thank you so much for your concern. So we like it,
wait. There's a deeper part of the story that made me cry. It was.
Oh, you're checking. Oh, you went to the tape. You're at the tape. All right,
to the receipts. I congratulated an employee on being engaged and pregnant when she really wasn't. Because the boyfriend, alleged baby daddy, told me she was another employee. Not only was she not pregnant, she wasn't engaged to the guy.
No.
And didn't consider their situation a dating relationship.
Oh my gosh, right. I mean, I left all those details out. We're going to wind up saying who it was. But that text, I mean, it was so fun to read because you're like, ooh, you got it all twisted and messed up.
In tears.
But here's the reality. Unfortunately, we know this. There are folks that sit in a human resources position because they love people, but what they really love is the drama and the tea.
Drama.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. And love having that, that's my favorite, especially in my role. Like in some organizations, HR, they want to hold on to all of the data and they'll be like, well, I'm working on a case, so.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know. I mean, Joe, really, he's had a long history. I can't talk about it.
I just asked for the survey.
Long history. Right?
They want to tell me. I'm like, I just asked about the survey about what we should have at the picnic.
Who is this about? Oh, this is about Mike. Okay, yeah, let me get you that folder.
I'm not going to say anything. Mike won't be at the picnic.
Mike can't be at the picnic. His ankle won't let him. But I'm not saying anything else, right? And you're like, why are you telling me this?
What? No, I don't even know Michael.
And when you're young,
I asked for the code at the bathroom. People listen. They want to tell you all the things.
They want to tell you, and I have to tell you, and I have no real data on this, so please understand this is anecdotal. My experience only. Half the time, what they think they know isn't really accurate. It's not really the truth. And they're walking around thinking they're holding on to some juicy detail when it's actually not true. I had someone convinced, HR team that I was a part of, that someone else had gotten a former employee pregnant. And I was like, how do you know that? Well, she was always hanging out with him. And then this, and I'm like, oh. And it was hilarious because honestly, I hadn't thought about that account until you sent me that video this week of Gavin and Derek about,
Were you dying? I don't know if y'all seen it this week.
Hilarious.
There's a preschool teacher saw a little girl play vaping and was concerned and decided to step in because the child was they said they were vaping because they were stressed out.
Now, let's stop right there for a second. I want to make sure that we're not seeming aloof, because we're not aloof. When Jackye and I were children, and we would pretend play in our areas as well. Y'all, we used to take markers.
Candy cigarettes. And we used to have candy cigarettes when we were little.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had the bubblegum ones you could actually blow through.
And
the sugar thing made, yes.
Well,
and
how
we would
did that
pretend.
make sense? Make that make sense.
We had lots of issues. But we would do it with pens and all. You just pretend because that's what you saw adults doing.
That's right.
So now this little preschool girl is vaping. So it's different now. And this is what the preschool teacher saw and was like, "Ooh, I better go over and see and say something."
That's right. It was really funny.
And then it became a Maury episode. Total. It was. I'm not making this up. It became a complete Maury episode.
And I was here for it.
I mean, it was
the funniest thing.
I showed my executive producer, and she was cracking up. It was so funny. But so in this video, you got to watch it. There's preschool pregnancies that have to be dealt with because it's, serious.
Preschool pregnancies.
That's where we are, everybody. Welcome. But
here's the thing, though. People, we share. We want to connect. We want to empathize. But then it's like, there is a point where you're like, please stop. Please stop.
Yes.
This is the person you need to call. Here's the number to our EAP. Hold that. You have to remember that there are things that you just send them in the right direction. You don't need all of the information all of the time.
But I'm going to have to say we, because we're a part of this discipline, but we in HR sometimes want to know all the dirt. We think it's part of our investigation. You don't need to know all that. I'm looking at the calendar. I'm going to say, and this is frightening, I'm going to say 33 years ago at this time. I mean, right? Let's all just take a moment right there. 33 years ago at this time, I was dealing with an employee who found herself pregnant, and she had a great attitude about it, great spirit, was there for all the love and support that people would give her, wouldn't give up a thing about baby daddy. Not a word, not a peep, not a nothing. And so what happens then at the workplace? Everyone else feels like it's their responsibility, including some that were involved in employee relations, to help solve the mystery of who could the baby daddy be.
Stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And if they zeroed in on a customer who would come in. And so this poor man was deemed to be the obvious baby daddy. And it was almost like what we saw in that video, which is why it makes me think of all these stories, because someone had seen the two of them hug when he came in. And part of me is like, hey, come here. I'm pretty sure you're in your mid-20s. Come here. You probably should be told how the baby thing actually happened.
Right. When two people fall in love, that's how I always like to start the story.
When they love each other very much.
My kids run when I do that at home. When I'm like,
yeah, it is, but it does, and I'm Jim's comment here. It still goes on for sure, which is why we're talking about it. It for sure still goes on.
It absolutely does, and I mean, just in case.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, look, that stuff is like tongue in cheek, and we can laugh about it. But when HR is really like that, that's tough.
That's why the reputation is, because it's like I'm trying to do my job. I keep saying, the work that I do in particular, part of it is to free people up to be able to do their job. When you have HR departments like that, we can't, it makes everyone paranoid, unable to do their job, and unable to take part in the benefits that we have for them because they're too afraid to ask for them because they're going to have to give you all the information.
I mean, and there are, look, I know that if you have a child and you are going to go on as a dependent, that at some point HR is going to know that child's name and social security and all that good stuff. They're just going to know this. I know. But you and HR don't have to keep the rumors going about what's happening there. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not helping anybody when you're like, I can't talk about it, but let's just say, he's due in March. And you're like, well, first of all, I don't even know. How do you know that it's a he? Who's telling you this information? If the employee really told you that, why are you telling me? I don't need to know these things. Well, I just want you to know, we got to be careful. No, we don't have to.
No, and you should, stop people from doing
yes.
That. Be the person to stop that and make sure that you have that culture of telling people where they need to go, who needs to be a part of that information.
Now, let me ask you this, though. Let's be real. When Jackye, in her infinite wisdom and maturity, says, hey, let's kind of kill that conversation. We don't need to talk about this. What does that person do with your doing that? Have you had people kind of walk away?
I've had people get really upset. I've had people get really upset and say that they expected more. And I've had to go back and explain what my role is and that I am trying to protect them. And that happens early in your career. People mistake HR for being like a high school counselor.
Oh, well, because we act like it, though, to be fair at times.
Well, yeah, to be fair. Some people, that we're perpetuating that. But I think we can't, especially now. There's so many things that we are trying to give to our employees that, and I think also with DEIB, a lot of times people are like, let me tell you about everything that's going on. And it's like, no. That, like, yes, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to question your ability to work. However, this is kind of outside of the spectrum. And the problem is I'm not going to share those things with you. And then you're going to feel like we don't have this connection and be upset. And I don't want you to do that.
When your core connection with other people is talking about other people, it's not a real connection. And I know it happens a lot, and I know people like to, you and I can tease about broad celebrity kind of stuff, right? That kind of deal. But honestly, like in the workplace, if you're like basis for connection and feeling like you have a good rapport with employees is the way in which you sort of maneuver how you talk about other employees to that employee, that's not real connection. It's
No.
tenuous at best, because at some point the employee you're spilling the tea with is going to sit back and think, oh crap, what might they be saying about me to somebody else
That's right.
in the company? When I hear
That's
all
right.
that they say to me about these other people, I got to start thinking I might be on this person's list as they chat about somebody else. That's a really tough place to be if you're in HR and that's kind of how you've leveraged your relationship. That's tough.
It is tough.
Right? I don't know how you get out of that without quitting. I don't know if you can fix that within the organization once you establish yourself to be that kind of rapport developer, right? If that's the basis for it, gosh, that's really tough.
That is tough. I mean, that's not a good culture. And that's when it gets really, really messy. Now, there's a difference of allowing people, like when they share their story, especially I know at Textio a lot, when people are sharing stories, they share why they appreciate Textio. And sometimes that's because of a past situation. I made a post yesterday talking about past trauma getting in the way of like current job, of being afraid of different things. And I think that it does become a story sometimes when you have these inclusive environments of being able to say, I couldn't do this at my past job, or people judged me, or I was afraid to look for a job because I was pregnant, or all of these different things. But we have to like understand, especially at the executive level, of what your business is and set the example of what your business and what.
How do you, so let's speak in wisdom for a moment or two.
Okay, I'll do my best. Let me Google that. Hold on. Let me Google. Let me Google wisdom.
Let me vape for a second. Hold on. I need.
I'm feeling very stressed, Derek. I'm feeling very stressed.
Derek could be the father, or Gavin could be the father. I mean, that's just the best.
That was hilarious.
How do you walk that line? Like, how are you someone that can receive the tea? I mean, I'm just going to call it that. Like, there are components in HR where stuff comes to you, even if you don't want it. News and information comes to you. How do you keep that openness to being seen as somebody who can receive information so that people know that they can come and talk to you about stuff that might be going on, because you might be able to offer resource and that sort of thing, versus sort of becoming gossip central?
I think what's important is to tell people what I need, the information that I need in order to assist you is, or the information that I have that based on what you've told me so far, I think can help you.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at those things together. And get you help. The issue is asking them, is there something that you need from me?
Yeah. Yes.
This is what I can offer. Like, if this is what you need from me, because the problem is sometimes people are giving you information and they want you to solve it. And if you're accepting of all of that information, the expectation is you're going to do something about it. And then you get to the end and you say, I can't do anything about that. Talk to someone else in HR, and then just, bare yourself to them. And it's difficult enough to tell the story. And that's when you get people in that, I'm just going to take a leave. Like, they don't know what to do. And when you're just holding on to the information, it's important to say, if you do have those policies or all these things, because you can differentiate. If they want to talk to you, like, I would love to be a mentor or coach to you, but this is what I can do. And this is what I can't do. I can't get you a raise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that your taxes went up.
Yes.
I'm not the one that can do that for you. Let's talk about what we can do in order, if your situation has changed. These are the various options that we have.
So, I'm fascinated by that answer, not because I think it's wrong, but just because I think there's a lot to kind of connect to there. Do you think it's different from an inclusion and equity perspective in how it happens in the workplace? Do you think
yes,
expectation management and resource management is different in how it's offered to different people?
I think it is. the question where I go, just to make sure that people are really specific, is do they feel like, as a result of whatever it is, like they haven't been included, they're treated a different way? Is
Right.
that what encouraged them to go to me, or do they just look to me as a mentor and a friend?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, one time somebody said, we were working on something for Pride, and someone said that they felt really uncomfortable about it. Like, I can't guess
Right. Right.
why
How
they
would you
feel
know?
uncomfortable. I mean, let's talk about that. That, it was all it was, oh, we're going to do something for Pride. Let's come up with the campaign. And the person's response was, I have some previous trauma. It makes the Pride Month really uncomfortable for me.
Oh gosh.
And so I said, here are some resources where we've talked about Pride before. Here are some additional resources for mental health and this and this. Because what I didn't want them to do was overshare with me something that I can't fix, or now I'm finding something out that could impact my own biases,
Yes.
especially considering that I have a child that identifies as trans, non-binary, right? And so I mean, I say identify as they are, and I don't. So I'm coming from a different lens, and when when you're talking from that, and
Absolutely.
it could have been, the other thing is that I could have opened up a can of worms that was going to be very tragic, of which I really don't know what I'm doing. It's above my pay grade. It goes way beyond my expertise. And I'm going to say something stupid.
Yes. Yes.
And you're so
Or personal.
liable. If
Yes.
they're talking to you as a representative of the company, you're liable for that response. And so if I say to them, oh, you should leave your spouse and go ahead and get surgery, I'm getting sued now. I
Yes.
just gave them
You know,
medical advice.
it's funny
You
because
know,
I mean, super anecdotal over the dinner table last night. So those of you who've followed or known me for a long time, my executive producer has for 20 years worked mostly part-time for the Ann Taylor company, mostly at Ann Taylor, but since we moved to Florida, she's been at Loft because there is no Ann Taylor in Vero Beach, right? So she's been working at Loft. And she just works there a couple days a week. Okay, so she worked there yesterday, and this may be a revelation to people who don't know retail. Those in retail are like, oh yeah, yep. Someone came in yesterday and stole merchandise, and the rule is you cannot go after people anymore. There's no more going after shoplifters. It's not allowed. It mostly by
which is why businesses are shutting down all over.
Correct. I mean, there's so
major
much to
areas.
unpack with that. It's outrageous.
Different show.
So she's telling me this, and I'm like, well, what did you do when you saw the person leaving with the stuff? And she's like, we're not allowed by policy to do anything, because if we do, we risk termination. And I'm like, so you'll be fired for going after somebody who's stealing stuff. Yes. Right. And she's like, well, I know. And I'm like, nope, I would be fired because I couldn't not go after the person. Not that I'm tackling them down, although I probably would feel like I want to, but like just go after and be like, I'm so sorry. You forgot to pay for that. And she's like, no, you're going to be fired. I shouldn't be in the position in retail. I'm being honest. Like, I don't know that I could handle working in retail full time now with that kind of restriction, because it goes against my value system. I have a really hard time with that. And I shouldn't be in a position in a retail environment to lead people in policy to say, don't do that, when I know I'm not going to be able to live authentically in that. So if people broadly, if people come to me and they're coming with things that might, you talked about that person who had some sort of trauma from a previous Pride involvement, whatever that was. If I feel very strongly about Pride and this person is coming in and saying, I have an issue with it, I can't do this, if I know I'm going to be triggered by that, I probably shouldn't sit in the position to have a say in how this person then is treated or resourced, because my bias may big time kick in and say, well, that's obviously your problem. You're going to have to get over your trauma because this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it, and too bad for you. Now, I know at moments we might need to do that, broadly speaking, but how do you maintain a resourced, the famous open door for human resources if they're like, oh no, don't go talk to John about this because he's just going to wind up telling you too bad or this or that. And so I wind up holding on to things that are unhealthy for me. I don't know where to go with how I'm feeling. And this time of year, I'm super sensitive to it because
Yes.
how many people are really struggling. It's not anecdotal, folks, like really struggling with this time of year. They're remembering loved ones that aren't with them. They're struggling with their own inadequacies. The celebration of the holidays sometimes it comes with a lot of depression and despair for people. So to just be sort of dismissive of people and just, if you don't have any good dirt to tell me, just move along, right? Like, I can't help you with this.
Well, I don't think it's being dismissive. I think sometimes it is holding the lemons, because you also don't want a culture where someone can't say, I need a day off.
Yes.
And that's all they need to say.
That's all they need to say. And I don't have to say, well, which bucket is it? Sick? What is it that I'm putting down for this? Is this a planned absence? Do you have a doctor's appointment? Why? Why do you have to know all this? You don't have to.
You don't have to. And that's what makes people nervous. And it also is what makes people deceptive.
Yes. Yes.
You know? Because then they're like.
Have you ever been deceptive at work? I mean, how many phone calls? Listen, y'all, before the updates to the sick, yes, that's what I was just going to say. You remember before the sick leave, accrued sick time rules in certain states and cities said you don't have to ask for any of that. You know how many times you got on the phone?
Oh yeah, I've done that. But then it's unfortunate because then it's
hello. I'm sorry.
I was always more paranoid of like finding out and that I would be getting like in major big trouble. And I even now it's a real problem. Like people who know me know I never take a lunch. I just don't. And I sit at my desk and it's like, you should take a lunch, or people ask me to go to lunch. I work from home. Eating? Nobody's standing over me. I'm eating.
Thank you. As long as you're eating. I mean, I appreciate
that. I microwave a pot pie, I sit at my desk. You know, I'm like,
I microwave a pot pie the other day. I haven't done it in so long.
They're delicious.
Delicious.
Pot pies. Chef's kiss to the.
Listen, let me tell you something. For 610 calories, that thing better dance for me.
Right. Right? I mean, they've been trying to kill us. Have you ever looked at like what
kill us? I didn't look until just this last one that I put. I was like,
I saw the other day. It was a recipe for like a broccoli casserole. It had a can of cream of mushroom soup, a cup of mayonnaise, a cup of cheese.
Oh, and you're just like right here. Let somebody come and check my cholesterol right from this vein right here. Check my cholesterol.
Yeah, that is not a side dish. That is a heart attack.
That's a heart attack main course. I mean, but 610 for this little pot pie, you know, I was like,
little, tiny.
Now I'm like, all right, I'll do it next time and I'll cut it in half and I'll have half this day and I'll save the other half for the next day. This is where I'm at. Welcome everybody to being in your 50s, that I'm looking at the calories because I have to. I don't burn stuff the way I used to, even though I work out and all. My body's like, I see what you're doing. No.
But you know what? I want to go back to something you said. Because
disgusting. What is this? What we're going to talk about?
Besides the fact that you're disgusting. No, not disgusting. Besides the fact, I can't do it. I can't. So, is it being dismissive? I mean, what do you do when the person tells you the whole story and then you get to the end and they say, I can't do anything? Which is more painful?
I know. And listen, this if you can establish some sort of mechanism. So this is the old school timeout, right? And through the years, I don't do it all the time, but I've had people just have like vomit of the mouth and just
Yes.
start saying all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, hold on, timeout. I want to stop. I want to stop. You've said a ton. I appreciate that. I love that you feel like you can tell me a bunch of things. Thank you for that. But hold on. What is it that I'm trying to help you with? Because I'm confused.
Yes, that's
bring
what
it
I
to
do.
yourself. Yes. I would bring it to you. I'm confused.
That's right.
And before you go any further, since I'm confused, I just want to understand how am I supposed to help, or what are you looking for me to help with?
Yes.
Because I'm confused. Bring it back to yourself. I think that's really helpful, as opposed to saying, you don't need to tell me all this. What you doing? Like, because then it becomes combative.
Yes.
I'm out. I'm lost. I'm confused. I want to make sure I'm listening correctly. What is it?
Well,
that
and
you're
acknowledging their feelings, because I add that part too, where it's like, I can see that you're really upset.
Yes.
Because you want someone to, because that's a lot of times why they're telling you. They want someone to acknowledge that their pain is real, and that they're valid. Their feelings are valid.
Even if you don't agree that their pain is real, which is really hard sometimes. I know it.
Yes.
I know it. It's their pain. It's not yours. And there are times where people will do something and I'm like, what is the big deal? I'm thinking.
But here's the flip side. Like, this is the other thing. So we had a situation at a previous company that I worked at where the person went to the HR generalist, not HRBP, not any of authority, and told them a full story and laid everything down on the line that was very passionate. And then later, the person wanted to sue the company for not providing a resource because they told someone everything that was going on. And that person said, I'm going to hold this information in confidence. Decided to hold the information in confidence because they didn't want to seem like they were doing it. So there was this major thing. It ended up affecting the company in a negative way. And nobody knew that this was happening. So, what do you do then? Where it's
right. What do you do?
And there have been times where I've had to tell employees, listen, I can't keep this information to myself. I will check in with you every single step along the way. I'll explain to you in advance the way that this is going to play out. I will give you all of the information. I will alert you before those steps are made so that you know that those things are happening, but know that I'm advocating for you, but I can't hold on to that.
That's right.
Because you have to free yourself from being the one where everybody tells you all the bad information, because you will hold on to that and it makes it difficult for you to be able to move forward. Because again, we only have so many things that we can focus on. Make the mistake of having to do something else or get distracted and not,
Well, I think, it's really good to bring up. One of the things that we may not do a great job of in HR, and I'll say maybe even a step broader.
One thing.
It's only one. It's only one. Happy holidays. Management, maybe in general. People are not taught how to conduct an investigation to the degree that you might think that they are. No.
You need the card in your pocket, like the Miranda rights. Like, you need to pull it out and you're like, I am a representation of the company. Everything that you say is public record. Allow me to.
And I want to make sure I'm defending in what I'm saying. I have a heart for managers, for HR practitioners who have never been taught how to conduct an investigation, who wind up being asked to conduct an investigation and it doesn't go well. Or, they don't know how to respond to everything that's being offered to them. And then leadership gets mad at that manager or HR person. And it's like, well, you're HR. Well, you're the manager. Well, hold on. Just because you gave that person a title, you think that makes them equipped? That they are two different things. I try to make it realistic to say, I know people right now who have the title of CEO, CFO. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, they're an officer of a company with 3 people. They gave themselves the title CFO. I'm not mad at them, but that doesn't mean that they really are a chief financial officer the way that you are thinking a CFO.
That's right.
So just because you labeled somebody department manager or division VP, they're in banking. Everybody and their mother is a VP in banking. That doesn't make them a vice president.
Yeah.
Like, what are you
In
talking
banking,
about?
it's the worst. They
It's the
they
worst.
all have
And
VP
so then this
titles.
person gets a complaint. Somebody comes in and is like, hey, I got to talk to you. I feel like I've been sexually harassed. You have? Who did it? Right? Well, Joe did it. Joe, what are you calling Joe in for? What? It's because I don't know how I'm supposed to address. I just want to get to the problem and
I'm
solve
bringing
it.
Joe in the office.
Yes, Joe, you don't touch him like that or her like that ever again. Joe's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
This person said you sexually harassed them. What? I just brought them coffee and I was spilling and we touched hands when I was handing it. Is that what happened? Yeah, I was kind of uncomfortable. It was sort of like a caress hold. So I just feel like I was sexually. Now you made a mess out of something because you don't know how to do.
Oh, and the whole
an investigation and the whole office now.
Like it was interesting because I have a kind face that tells people to talk to me when I'm on planes. So I was sitting on the plane yesterday. I started the interaction by saying, I'm exhausted. I can't wait to sleep on this flight. I was very clear of my expectations.
I'm making a note for a new t-shirt.
Of our relationship.
I'm making a new t-shirt. Keep going.
What? That says what?
I have a kind face. But then in parentheses, maybe don't push it.
Can I have my face on it?
Absolutely.
So when they were telling me that when they were young, I was telling them about my work, and I was talking about how a lot of times when we're talking to people, they recognize that something was discrimination later and not in the moment. Doesn't always stand out until later. And they were saying that there was an executive at their company that came in, and when they were talking, told them that they had a lovely ring and grabbed their hand to look at the ring, but held it in a weird, creepy way. And then later said, oh, and that's a lovely necklace, and touched their chest with the neck where the necklace drop was.
What do we call? Isn't that what's that? Decolletage? What is that called?
Yeah.
I'm hip. Go ahead.
The decolletage. So
the decolletage.
yeah. So they went and left, and they cried. They were very upset about it, and talked to a person and ended up going back to the person and telling them, don't touch me like that ever again. And that stuck with them. And then when you think about it, it was like, what would you tell your child? It was like, I would tell them to go to HR so that they could handle the situation. They told another employee, whatever. Right. And then flash forward later, as something happened and the person was let go up like 3 years later because that interaction had happened on multiple occasions. And we don't just not tell HR people not to have a case. We don't tell employees when to consider what they're supposed to do if they feel these kinds of things, if they feel like they're being discriminated against, if they feel like they're being harassed. And unfortunately, often people first will go to their manager who has absolutely zero knowledge or experience to do in these situations.
Yes.
And that's when you have this gaslighting come up. Like, oh, not Frank. He's been married for 30 years. He's really in love. That wouldn't have happened. You must have made a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you and I, obviously, right? And those who are our millions of fans, you know that these kinds of things do occur where we've sort of preempted the story. Someone starts to share and you're like, oh, I know where this is going. Like we already have cut off any validity from the person who's sharing a perspective. And your face may still be doing the but in your head, you're like, my gosh, I hope they wrap it up quickly. Like, I don't want this to go on forever. And it's the blessing and the curse. Like, we're teasing about this, when you do sue, right? So that HR doesn't become like Gossip Central and nobody wants to tell you anything because you are untrustworthy. But then on the other side, if you are seen as trustworthy and you have a lot of attitude or issue, even internally, about being trustworthy, I don't need to hear everybody's story and everybody's business, then it's up to you to help people know how they can navigate the resources that are available. Maybe you don't need to hear everything. Maybe you had stopped saying to managers, you know what, do me a favor. Don't handle any of this. Just send it all to me. Well, you can't say that and then be mad when everything comes to you. Why would you be
That's
upset
right.
about that? That doesn't make any
And it
sense.
just should be, if we require organizations to do sexual harassment training every day or every year,
day.
every day, damn. That's intense. But if you're requiring people to do it every year, there should also be a requirement for managers on how to handle cases like that. Or if
Yes.
somebody's being discriminated, on where to go. Because you do have to teach listening skills, empathy. There's a certain amount where you might like,
Absolutely.
and we're talking about these interjections of different things that you might want to say. We're not saying right from the beginning. It's knowing when you can, because sometimes you need to let them let it go, let it
Yes.
go.
Yes.
But it's like, how much of that retaining what is
Well, it's
important
once
to
a
listen
year.
to.
Think about what you know from doing something once each year. Come on.
I do know, like people with DEI training
Right.
once a year.
But even in your own personal life, when people are like, well, we do our harassment training once a year. And I'm like, okay, go to the gym once this year, just once.
Are you talking about me? You're making fun of me now. Why is it getting personal?
What? First
I
of
go
all,
to the gym once a year.
I would never say that to you because you have a kind face. And then people are like, well, obviously, John, it's not going to work if I'm not going to hit, goals or objectives for my wellness, if I just go to the gym once a year. Okay. Then why do you think someone's going to all of a sudden know how to communicate in situations when you only talk about it once a year for an hour?
Yes.
That's all you do. So you get mad at managers because you're like, we talked about this in training 9 months ago. I haven't practiced it in 9 months. I haven't had a reason to. Now you're mad when the manager's like,
well, you signed a piece of paper.
Oh.
It's initialed.
I have the list. I have the attendee list. You were there. Okay, I was there. So
show me your notes.
Right. The only circumstance or situation that we were given was a CEO is inappropriate with the administrative assistant.
Right.
And it was a quid pro quo sexual harassment. Hey, Betty, if you stay late tonight, I'll buy you dinner to help with some memos. Okay, like, first of all, 1958, that's like the only circumstance we ever go back to.
Mad Men. Right.
Right. Okay, now what do we do when it's not the CEO? What do you do when it's the department lead who is a female who is perceived as coming across as harassing towards another female?
Right.
And it doesn't fit your paradigm of simple, strong man, weak woman. That's the only, situation I can handle. Well, that's all we ever talked about in our 1 hour training that we did.
That's right.
Someone is going to say, I'm not really sure. I haven't practiced this. Of course they haven't practiced it. We don't talk about it. Like, don't be mad at managers. It will make them not want to do the job well because they're like, I'm afraid I'm going to be in trouble. I tried something last time. I got yelled at. I don't want to get yelled at again.
That's right.
Just go see HR. Just go talk to HR.
But you have to do something because you go back to what happened at some of these organizations that by the time it comes out, it's not just one person in one situation.
That's right.
It's 15 people, and it's happened every year, and they have a name for it, and they have a mascot, and they have pictures, and it's on YouTube.
They have a mascot
that they bring with them, like Flat Stanley. Do you remember Flat Stanley?
I have such fond memories of Flat
Stanley. Do you
Stanley.
love Flat Stanley?
Frankie and I, when Frankie was in school, we did a whole Flat Stanley thing. My cousin was a teacher in Las Vegas, and between the two classes that she taught second grade, and between their two classes, like they did Flat Stanley and sent them to each other.
We took our Flat Stanley to St. Petersburg, Florida. I remember that.
We took ours to the Rocky statue because why would you?
It's my favorite. You're the best around.
I
Oh wait,
just, you
was
said
that?
mascot. I have my
Wait, the
little
best
mascot.
around. That was like Karate Kid, right?
Yeah, that was Karate Kid.
Okay.
Here is your sexual harassment mascot, everybody. Hey.
What is that?
I,
Literally, what is that?
it's from a company called What Fix, which I don't even know. I don't even know if they're still around. I'm sorry, What Fix, if you are. But it's a wind-up toy, and this is what it like. This is what it does, and it dances across the
Throw that
table.
away. Throw that away. Wait, it dances on the table.
I know.
Class.
So do I.
That
But
is
that's another story.
class.
I want to make sure, first of all, this was awesome. I love that you came up with this When Do You Do Sue? It's like probably one of my favorite titles.
I didn't come up with it. It was one of our the
Oh,
came up with it at some point. I
did
guess
they?
I
I
did.
thought it was you. I don't know.
It
I'm
might have
giving you
been.
the
It might have
credit.
been.
I'm giving you the
Okay,
credit.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
We also should mention, though, that this week there were also some additional layoffs in some companies that some of you may have seen. So I know SurveyMonkey did a layoff, and it just went out of my head. Another company with an S, a tech company, just did another bunch of layoffs this week. Darn it! It just went out of my head.
Yeah.
Starts with an S. Not
Mhm.
SurveyMonkey was one. What was the other one?
Yeah, and it was like 1,500. It was like 1,500
I don't know. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm just having like a
people.
brain.
It's very, and it's horrible, and it's
It's
still
so
happening, and it's
horrible.
not done. It is not
It's
done,
not done.
and
This time of year, it is, please, please, extra love on people. Please, extra love on people. There are so many posts and resources being shared in those posts.
Spotify. It was
That's it.
Spotify.
Spotify. Yes, that's correct. That's who it was. Please let people know what resources are available, not just financially. Obviously, we know unemployment and some of these folks are getting packages from a severance standpoint. We know that, but it is a tougher time of year, right? They're walking into the holidays with uncertainty. They're trying to be strong for their families, but inside they're dying. Like, please, if you have relationships with these folks that have been affected, I'm just asking you to go out of your way and connect.
I'm sorry. I jumped in because, as you know, I have an open role and thousands and thousands of people have applied. And if you are someone that's looking for a job, try to be patient with the feedback. If you're someone giving feedback, give good feedback.
Yes.
I'm trying to give very detailed feedback because maybe it can help them on their resume. Maybe it can help them for their next job. I'm not going back when, if I say this is the job description, you gave me the resume, this is what you presented, this is what the decision based on what you presented. I'm not going backwards, but I do want to take the time to give good feedback. And so should you, so that they can be able to get the job they're looking for and remind of their own expertise of what they might be able to look for and try to share all of those. And I hope you do network with people in the chat. Today it was very quiet, probably because I posted this at like midnight last night.
However, we're not going to hold that against you, even though I am in my brain.
Even though I know you are. Thank you for loving me.
Now, I'm going to be vaping all day. And I do want to make sure, though, if you also need a job, reach out to Jeremy Roberts, because Jeremy, I think, is hiring 412 people. So if that's something if Jeremy's not, now he'll be happy. Now he'll be happy that I did.
I hope he's still in the chat. He could have just left. So
he took his flat Stanley and left. That's
right. That's right.
He gone.
Well, I appreciate everyone. Please be there. Stay strong. Let's keep networking and sharing the information
and stop spreading rumors about people that work with you.
Look at all these rumors. Follow me every day. Remember that one?
That would have been a good song too.
I know. I like it.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Clink. See ya.